I used to believe that love meant patience, that if you held on long enough and gave your everything, things would fall into place, that the storms would pass and the sun would shine again. But the truth is, sometimes the person you weather the storm for is the storm itself. That person was Willow. Once I saw galaxies in her eyes. Now I barely recognize the woman who walks around our home like a queen, too disgusted by her servants to even pretend to care. The woman I once adored now looks at me with a mixture of contempt and boredom, and no matter what I do, how hard I work, how deeply I love, it's never enough. She doesn't scream often, no. Her weapon of choice is colder, silence, mockery, indifference. She wounds with sighs, rolls of her eyes, sharp whispers over the phone to people who laugh at jokes I'm sure are about me. But I could take that. I've taken it for years. What I can't take is how she treats Annah. Our daughter, my beautiful, bright, sensitive girl, never asked to be caught in this battlefield. Yet Willow treats her like a burden, like an inconvenience that occasionally interrupts her wine and phone time. Annah's only 12, but she already understands too much. She clings to me like I'm her anchor, and the truth is, she's mine too. We've built this unspoken bond, forged in the fires of neglect and quiet pain. Every time her mother ignores her drawings, every time she shrugs off Annah's questions or ridicules her interests, I watch my daughter shrink a little. Then I try to build her back up. I tell her she's brilliant. I show up at every school event. I spend nights helping with projects, reading her stories, encouraging her to dream even when her own mother doesn't listen. Willow doesn't even try to hide it anymore. The eye rolls when Annah talks, the disgusted faces when she mentions something about me. One night, Annah asked Willow if she liked the poem she wrote about me. Willow didn't even look up. What is this? Worship lyrics for your pathetic dad? I saw my daughter's eyes fall and something inside me screamed. I wanted to shout, but I didn't. I just knelt beside her and said, "That poem is beautiful, and I'm proud of you." Later that night, when she was asleep, I stood outside her door and made myself a promise that no matter what, I would protect her. Willow may have stopped loving me, but Annah is the reason I keep breathing. Still, the tension in the house is unbearable. Willow vanishes for hours, sometimes days, always returning in heels and perfume I don't recognize. She doesn't explain where she goes. She doesn't care to. When she's home, the atmosphere is toxic. Passive-aggressive remarks, insults disguised as jokes, silence so thick it chokes. And when she's not picking at me, she's snapping at Annah. "Can't you do anything right?" she snapped once when Annah dropped a glass. I rushed in, held my daughter close, whispered, "It's just a glass." But the damage was done. Willow doesn't see the little girl she's destroying, or maybe she does, and she doesn't care. Annah doesn't even call her mom anymore. She calls her Willow when she talks about her at school. That tells me everything. She comes to me for everything now, from help with homework to late-night tears. We sit in my office sometimes, her drawing while I work, and she leaves sticky notes on my desk. "You're doing great, Dad. You're my hero." I save every single one. When Willow found them once, she scoffed. Emotional dependence. Great parenting. I said nothing, because if I say too much, I might explode. I'm a man who's been boiling for years, and the lid is starting to shake. I have sacrificed so much for this family. I worked 2 jobs when Willow decided she didn't feel like working anymore. I paid for her spa days, her designer shoes, her nights out, all while making Annah's lunch and tucking her in alone. And yet, I'm still called a failure. "You're nothing but a sad little man playing house," she once hissed at me. That night, I barely slept. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the moonlight, wondering how a man becomes invisible in his own home. But I stay. For Annah. Only for her. One evening, I came home early from a shift. I found Willow yelling at Annah over a broken vase. "You're so clumsy. What's wrong with you?" she barked. My daughter was curled in the corner, hands shaking, tears running down her cheeks. I snapped, my fists clenched, and I felt the years of swallowed anger rise like a firestorm in my chest. I walked over and pulled Annah into my arms. "She's a child," I said through gritted teeth. "You don't get to speak to her like that." Willow looked at me with narrowed eyes and said, "Maybe if she had a stronger father, she wouldn't be so weak." That was the moment I knew this woman didn't just hate me. She resented our daughter too, because Annah loved me. And in her twisted world, love that didn't revolve around her was betrayal. I took Annah upstairs, sat her on the bed, and she whispered, "Can we leave her one day?" My throat closed. I hugged her so tight she gasped. "One day. I promise," I said. That promise is all I have now. I replay it every night like a prayer. Because I know that if Willow crosses one more line with my daughter, the man I've been all these years, the patient one, the quiet one, the one who endures, will be gone. There's a storm building in me, and when it breaks, she will finally understand what it means to lose everything. The days that followed that explosion stayed heavy in the air like smoke that refuses to clear after the fire has already passed. I noticed the change in Annah first, how she flinched every time Willow walked into a room, how her laughter, once free and full of light, became something cautious, restrained. She still tried to smile for me, to act like nothing was wrong, but I saw through it. I saw it in the way she clung to my side when I cooked dinner, the way her eyes darted toward the door whenever Willow's heels clicked down the hallway, and I saw it most clearly in the way she slept, tossing and turning, whispering my name like a lifeline in her dreams. That was when I decided. I didn't announce it. I didn't argue anymore. I started planning quietly, methodically, like a soldier preparing for escape from enemy territory. I opened a secret savings account. I spoke to a lawyer. I looked into apartments near Anna's school, and I started documenting everything. Willow's verbal abuse, the cold neglect, the moments she called our daughter annoying, too emotional, weak like her father. Every venomous word went into a journal, every insult logged. I wasn't just protecting my daughter anymore. I was preparing to win custody. But Willow? She was too wrapped up in her own vanity to notice. She had grown louder, brasher, even more cruel. I think deep down, she could sense something slipping, and she tried to tighten her grip. Not with love, but with control. She started mocking Anna's interests more openly, calling her soft for liking art, accusing her of faking tears to get my attention. "You're raising her to be a whiny little failure," she snapped at me one morning after Annah spilled milk. I didn't respond. I just cleaned it up, kissed my daughter's forehead, and left the kitchen with a calm I didn't feel. Every second under that roof was a war I was quietly losing, but I was done reacting. I was watching, remembering, calculating. And then came the night that burned itself into my memory forever. It was supposed to be a normal evening. Annah had been working on a drawing, something she'd poured hours into. It was a sketch of me holding her hand, both of us smiling. She showed it to me first. "Do you think it's good enough to hang on the fridge?" she asked, eyes hopeful. "It's beautiful," I said. "It's the best thing I've ever seen." She beamed and skipped into the living room, eager to show Willow. I should have stopped her. I should have known better. But I wanted to believe, just for a moment, that maybe Willow would see her daughter trying, that maybe a flicker of maternal instinct would spark inside her. I was wrong. From the kitchen, I heard it. The tearing of paper, the sound of Anna's gasp, and then Willow's voice, cold and sharp. "Stop embarrassing yourself with these pathetic little doodles. You think your father actually likes them? He just pities you." Time froze. I walked into the room and found Annah standing there, eyes wide, staring at the shredded pieces of her drawing on the floor. Her hands trembled as she reached down, trying to gather the ruins like she could somehow fix it. And Willow? She sipped her wine like she hadn't just shattered a piece of our daughter's soul. I didn't see red. I saw black. I stepped between them, my voice low but shaking with rage. "Get out," I said. She laughed like I was a joke. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I said. "Get out of this house. Now." Her smile faltered. "This is my house too." "No," I said, my voice sharper now, unrecognizable even to myself. "This house is a prison, and you're the warden. But I'm done. I'm breaking us out." Annah was crying silently behind me, clutching the shredded paper to her chest, and in that moment I knew I'd never forgive Willow for what she did. Not just to me, but to our daughter. Willow stepped forward, face twisted with fury. "You're overreacting. It's a stupid drawing." "No," I said. "It was her heart on paper, and you destroyed it, just like you've tried to destroy every bit of light in her." She started yelling, throwing insults, but I didn't hear them anymore. I turned my back on her and knelt beside Annah, lifting her into my arms. "It's okay," I whispered. "You're safe now, I promise." That night, I packed a bag, just the essentials. Annah clung to me like a shadow, her eyes still red, but there was something new in them now. Relief. We slept in a cheap hotel. I let her fall asleep on my chest, her tiny breaths steadying the storm still raging inside me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the ceiling and made a decision that would change everything. We weren't going back. Not this time. The next morning, I called my lawyer and filed for emergency custody. I sent over pictures of the torn drawing, the recordings I'd secretly made of Willow berating our daughter. I attached the journal entries, the bruises on Annah's spirit that were too deep to ignore anymore. The court date was set within a week. Willow, of course, went ballistic. She showed up at the hotel, screaming in the lobby, accusing me of kidnapping. I stood between her and Annah, calm and resolute. "You lost the right to call yourself her mother the day you tore up her soul for fun," I said. Security escorted her out. Annah watched it all in silence, gripping my hand like it was her only lifeline. And maybe it was. When the hearing came, I was terrified. I'd never fought like this before. Not for myself, but this wasn't about me anymore. It was about a little girl who deserved to grow up in a home filled with love, not fear. Willow tried to paint me as weak, manipulative, unworthy, but the evidence spoke louder. The judge looked at the drawings, the messages, the therapist's evaluation, and when Annah took the stand, her small voice trembling but honest, everything changed. "I want to stay with my dad," she said, "because he listens, because he cares, because he makes me feel safe." That was it. The judge ruled in our favor, full custody, immediate relocation. Willow's visitation rights were suspended pending psychological evaluation. And just like that, it was over. Or so I thought. Because even though we were free, even though we moved into a small apartment filled with sunlight and secondhand furniture, the shadows of what we'd been through followed us. Annah smiled more now, laughed more, but some nights she still woke up crying. Some days she still asked, "Do you think she ever loved me?" And I had no answer. I could only hold her and say, "I love you enough for both of us." We started building a life from the ashes. New routines, new dreams. I went back to school online, took a better paying job. I framed one of Annah's new drawings and hung it above the couch, the two of us holding hands in a field of stars. But even now, even after everything, I sometimes catch myself looking over my shoulder, waiting for the past to knock again. Because the truth is, when someone like Willow poisons your life for so long, it takes time to fully cleanse your soul. Still, I'm not afraid anymore. I faced her. I stood up, I protected my daughter, and in doing so, I finally remembered who I am. Not a failure, not a weak man, but a father, a protector, a man who will never ever let anyone dim his daughter's light again. The weeks after the court ruling were quieter than I expected, but that quiet wasn't peace. It was healing in progress, the slow, uneven process of learning how to live again without constantly walking on eggshells. Every day with Annah was a reminder of how deeply she'd been hurt and how much work I had to do, not just to protect her, but to help her rebuild trust in the world and in herself. She still flinched when someone raised their voice on the TV, still hesitated to show me her drawings like a part of her believed I might tear them up too one day. It broke me, and I let it. I let the pain rip through me because I needed to feel it all. Every regret, every moment I'd stayed silent when I should have spoken, every time I told myself Willow would eventually change. But I didn't let it consume me. Instead, I let it push me forward. I poured myself into work, taking on extra shifts when I could, learning to juggle cooking, helping Annah with homework, and rebuilding our lives from scratch. I bought her better art supplies, enrolled her in a weekend sketch class. I hung her drawings in every room of the apartment like they were fine art because, to me, they were. Little by little, she began to open up again. Her laughter returned first, quiet and cautious at first, then louder, more frequent. Her questions became bolder, her stories longer. She started calling our apartment home, and when she said it, I knew it was real. But with the healing came another shadow, Willow. She didn't just vanish after losing custody. She lingered in the corners of our lives, sending cryptic text messages, posting passive-aggressive captions on social media about deadbeat dads stealing children, trying to paint herself as a victim. I ignored it all. But what I couldn't ignore was the day she showed up at Annah's school. The call came while I was on break. The principal's voice was tight with concern. "Mr. George, your ex-wife tried to pick up Annah without authorization. We stopped her, but Anna's very shaken. I left work without even clocking out. When I got to the school, Anna was sitting in the nurse's office, arms wrapped around her knees, face buried in her hoodie. She looked up when I walked in, and her eyes were full of tears and terror. "I didn't go with her," she whispered. "I told them I wanted to wait for you." I knelt down and held her, tighter than I ever had before. "You did exactly the right thing," I said. "I promise you, she's never taking you again." That incident sparked a restraining order. Willow wasn't allowed near the school, our home, or Anna. But it didn't stop her from trying to poison our lives from a distance. She called from unknown numbers, left voicemails full of manipulative guilt. "You turned my own daughter against me. She'll grow up broken because of you. You stole everything." I saved every message. I reported them all. But it wasn't about legality anymore. It was psychological warfare, and I was determined not to let it reach Anna. But it wasn't just Willow trying to slither her way back into our world. Ethan, the same smug, arrogant man who had watched me unravel while Willow tore our family apart, decided it was time to make his presence known. He sent a care package to Anna. It arrived with no return address, an expensive digital drawing tablet, chocolates, a card that read, "From someone who still cares." Anna brought it to me, confused. "Did you get me this?" she asked. I looked at it, the sleek packaging, the manipulative intent behind every inch of it, and shook my head. "This is from Ethan," I said quietly. "You remember him?" Her face turned cold in an instant. "I don't want it," she said. "Can we throw it away?" I smiled, proud and heartbroken all at once. "Of course," I said. "You never have to accept anything from anyone who hurt you." We dumped it straight into the trash. But the message was clear. Ethan and Willow were trying to find cracks in the armor I'd spent months building. They wanted back in. But this time, I wasn't the same man they remembered. I was no longer begging, no longer broken. I was a father on a mission, and nothing, not past love, not threats, not pity, was going to derail that. One night, a few days after the package incident, Anna and I were lying on the couch watching a movie. She was sketching in her notebook, occasionally glancing up at the screen, her head resting on my shoulder. "Dad," she said suddenly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "Do you think Mom ever really loved me?" The question hit like a freight train. I didn't answer right away. I looked into her eyes, saw how much that question had haunted her. "I think," I said carefully, "your mom loved herself more than she ever knew how to love anyone else. And I think that's not your fault. You deserved more. You still do." She nodded slowly. "I don't want her in my life anymore. Is that okay?" I wrapped my arms around her. "That's more than okay. That's your right. I'll always protect you, no matter what." But fate has a twisted sense of timing. The very next week, Willow sent a formal request to reestablish supervised visitation. Her reasoning was filled with lies. "I've changed. I'm in therapy. I deserve a chance." I stared at the letter for hours, weighing every option, every risk. Legally, she could petition. Morally, I wanted to burn the paper to ash. Anna saw it on the table and went pale. "She wants to see me?" she whispered. "Only if you want that," I said. "I'll fight it, but I need to know how you feel." Anna didn't hesitate. "No, I don't want to see her ever again." That was all I needed. My lawyer filed a response. The court denied her request. But I knew this wasn't the end. People like Willow don't accept consequences. They see them as inconveniences. And sure enough, not long after, she posted a video online, weeping crocodile tears, claiming I had stolen her daughter, that I had turned Anna into a weapon against her, that I was manipulating the courts. It gained traction. Comments flooded in, some sympathetic, some cruel. Strangers messaged me, accusing me of alienating a mother. But none of them knew the truth. None of them had been there when Anna cried herself to sleep. None of them had heard the way Willow snapped at her, belittled her, broke her spirit. So I stayed silent publicly, but privately I was preparing for war. I hired a PR consultant, cleaned up my online presence, gathered evidence to discredit every lie. If Willow wanted to play the victim publicly, I'd let her. But the truth always finds the light, and mine was bright enough to blind. Through it all, Anna kept growing stronger. She won a school art competition. She made friends. She started smiling more freely, laughing without flinching. She even began to tell people, proudly, "I live with my dad." just my dad. And one day, while we were walking through the park, she slipped her hand into mine and said, "I think we're going to be okay now." And I believed her, because for the first time in a long time, the future didn't look like a battlefield. It looked like possibility. It looked like freedom. I thought things had finally stabilized, that maybe, just maybe, Anna and I had earned our peace. But peace, it seemed, was never meant to last long in our world. It began one rainy evening when I came home late from a work meeting and found Anna sitting silently on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself, her sketchpad untouched beside her. That alone alarmed me. She always drew when she was anxious, but tonight she hadn't. "What's wrong?" I asked, kneeling in front of her. She didn't answer at first. Her eyes were red, lips trembling. Finally, she whispered, "She came to my school again. She didn't come inside, but I saw her outside the gate. She was just standing there, staring at me." My stomach dropped. That restraining order was still in place. "Did you tell anyone?" I asked gently. She nodded. "My teacher saw her too. They called the principal. She left before they could do anything." I clenched my fists. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march over to wherever Willow was and demand she leave us alone. But more than anything, I wanted to protect my daughter from fear, from pain, from reliving the trauma that woman had carved into her like a knife. I called the school, filed another police report, and updated the court. More paperwork, more legal meetings. But the worst part wasn't the process. It was knowing that no piece of paper would ever truly keep Willow away if she was determined enough. That night, as Anna slept curled beside me on the couch, I stared at the ceiling and asked myself what more I could do. I'd played it by the book. I'd stayed calm. I'd kept my head down. But all it had done was let her keep slithering back in. And then came the final breaking point. The day she crossed the line, I could never forgive. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I'd taken Anna to the art store. She'd saved up some money and wanted new brushes and paints. We were walking back to the car when a voice behind us sent chills down my spine. "Anna!" Willow's voice. Sweet and sickening. I turned around so fast I nearly dropped the bags. She was standing there in a beige coat, sunglasses perched on her head like a shield of innocence. "I just wanted to say hi," she said, ignoring the obvious restraining order violation. "I missed you so much." Anna moved behind me, clutching my shirt. "You're not supposed to be here," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Leave." Willow's face twisted, the sweet mask dropping instantly. "You're poisoning her," she hissed. "She's mine too. You don't get to erase me." "You erased yourself," I snapped. "Now get the hell away from us." But she didn't. She stepped forward, and that's when it happened. She looked at Anna, eyes filled with false sadness, and said, "You've changed, sweetheart. You used to love me. What did he do to you?" Anna shook her head. "No, you hurt me. You called me names. You made me feel like garbage. Dad never did that. Ever." That should have been enough. That should have ended it. But Willow didn't back down. Instead, she stepped closer to Anna and said the thing that snapped something deep inside me. "You're weak, just like him. Always playing the victim. Pathetic." Before I could react, Anna recoiled in horror, tears brimming in her eyes, and something inside me exploded. I stepped forward, chest heaving, rage pulsing through every vein in my body. "Don't you ever speak to her like that again," I roared. "You can hate me, you can lie about me, but if you ever insult my daughter again, if you ever show your face around her again, I swear to God, Willow, I'll make sure you disappear from her life forever, legally and completely." People in the parking lot had stopped. Phones were out. But I didn't care. I'd spent years swallowing my pain, years letting that woman terrorize me, and I was done. Completely done. Willow stepped back, finally realizing she'd lost control. "You'll regret this," she spat. "No," I said. "I already regret ever letting you near her at all." She stormed off, and I held Anna, who was shaking, sobbing into my chest. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I should have stopped her sooner." "You did," she said, voice trembling. "Today. You really did." That night, I called my lawyer and filed for a permanent no-contact order, not just for me, but for Anna too. I included every report, every witness, every video from that afternoon, and a week later, it was granted. Willow was barred permanently, from our lives, for good. It felt like a cloud lifted, like the poison had finally been drained. Over the next few months, things genuinely changed. Anna flourished. She joined a youth art collective, started designing characters for small indie games, and even got a small commission from a local studio. Her confidence soared, and as for me, I felt free. For the first time in years, I wasn't haunted. I wasn't waiting for the next storm. I was building something real. And then came Sophia. She was Anna's art mentor assigned through her community center. Smart, kind, radiant in a quiet, calm way. She didn't come into our lives with chaos or grand promises. She came with understanding, patience. One evening after a long day of tutoring, she stayed for dinner. Then the next week again. And one night, Anna looked at me with a knowing smirk and said, "You like her, don't you?" I blushed like a teenager. "She's great. You should ask her out," she said, giggling. "I want a stepmom who can draw." It took a few months, but Sophia and I started dating. Carefully, respectfully. I made sure Anna felt safe, involved, never pushed aside, and Sophia made it easy. She never tried to replace anyone. She just became herself, gentle, supportive, the calm after the storm. A year later, I proposed, and when I told Anna, she squealed and hugged me tighter than ever. "This is our happy ending," she whispered. And I realized she was right. We'd been through hell, but we hadn't just survived. We'd rebuilt, together, and nothing, not Willow, not Ethan, not the past, could take that away from us again.